CCP. Bannon's been hammering CCP. He said this is a day ago, 24 to 48 hours, they're going to be dropping some serious info, which they have. They've been dropping names. Of course, Obama's been back in the news, and they dropped the names right here. Right. So Senate Minority, Harris was part on that list with China. Chuck Schumer, Amy Klobuchar, Dianne Feinstein, there's a shocker.
Yeah.
Kirsten Gillibrand, Governor Cuomo, another shocker. De Blasio, another one. Governor Terry McAuliffe, and Rick Scott was on that list from what I can gather. So I'm not 100% on that one. I got to confirm that. But a lot of people were saying he was on that list. So I don't know. There's some incomplete lists going around right now. So that's why we're kind of waiting for other things to come out so that we can vet who's actually been on that list. So
right. Now, this list came from, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard it came from, or verified rather, from Hunter's former partner that's in jail.
Correct.
And they just moved him, coincidentally, to solitary. Now
really?
They won't let anyone in there to talk to him or interview him.
So we don't want another Epstein episode, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He was in a low risk prison, and all of a sudden, in the last 24 hours, they moved him to solitaire and put him under high risk.
Put him under suicide watch, I guess, maybe.
They didn't mention that, but
didn't mention that.
Put him in solitaire just so no one could talk to him, no one could interview him. And it's like, you don't need to interview him. You got his laptop.
Yeah.
And he stated that the emails that are on his laptop are true and they're real emails.
That's right. And so the pictures that are coming out are pretty devastating from what Giuliani's been hammering the fire out of them. We didn't have one. We didn't have two. I was told there's 3 laptops that are in play now.
Right.
And that there are images of him raping little kids, Chinese kids. Now they're saying there's actually a family member that was a part of this, underage family member at the time that was a part of this,
right.
That they were messing around with. So, I mean, look, guys, this is
minor.
A minor. And so, this is the part where people are going to have a hard time understanding, Paul, is putting this stuff together, how evil that these people truly are, what they've been into. And some of this is carried over into the churches. They're going to find out in some ministries, some churches have been involved in a lot of this stuff. Once they start working down the hierarchy, they're going to find out that this is what's all been involved.
Absolutely. And I want to bring something up, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but we can spend as much time as led. But I had just last week and a half ago, a former employee of 2 big name evangelists contact me, and she worked in the finance department of these 2 big ministries. And she said she literally had to walk away from these ministries because, and I'm gonna name some, and maybe I shouldn't, but we know the big name ministries, the T.D. Jakes and the Ed Youngs and the Furtick or whatever his name is from Evolution.
Steve.
And there was about 5 or 6 of them. They're all on each other's board. And we had talked about last time on the last show how that they need to be made accountable.
Yep.
Well, none of these guys are accountable because they're on each other's board.
Nope.
And they give each other expensive gifts, and they're all yes men. And she walked away because she just could not take the money laundering anymore. She said, I can't do this anymore. So there's tons of money laundering going on with these big time evangelists, and they're covering each other's back. So when you say it's going to go down all the way into the churches, it's going to go down to the churches.
Oh, absolutely. And so when you look at these churches and what they're into, I had a friend that was out there in California. I still have a friend out there in California, but that he was he's a big time CPA. He's been a CPA since '73. And he told me one day, he says, Mark, he says, I've done over 200 ministries. And a lot of these are big name ministries. And he says, because, he's in that line of work. So he says, I can walk into a church and within 5 minutes, I can tell you what they're doing with the money, where it's coming from, and how they're getting it. Just like that. And he says, it would blow people's minds to know what they're doing with this money, how they're getting it, and what they're doing with it. And he said, and the part that makes me angry, he said, is the little old lady on the back row that's giving, trying to sow, believing she's going to get something when in fact it's not coming.
Right.
And they're taking advantage of these people. And it's the fact that, and that's what always bothered me, because They don't want to tell you you're sowing into a system, the Baal system.
Right.
You're not going to get. Don't think for 1 second that the devil, some of the richest people on this planet, serve the devil himself, Satan himself.
Yeah.
So don't think for 1 second that he won't throw you some breadcrumbs, thinking that you're going to get something in return when you give your tithe to the system. That's not the way it was meant to be. You're supposed to give it to the storehouse. It was always meant to be food to begin with, or clothes, or tires, like we've talked about before. Rolling these tires down the middle of a church aisle for a tide.
Yeah.
So,
and people need to realize that, I named some of these big names, and there's others, and because we don't have the solid proof of who exactly it was, but it was definitely big names and stuff. But people need to be aware. When you're giving into one of those big ministries, you're giving into money laundering.
Yep.
You're giving into sin. And look, if you want to give money into a ministry, find a ministry. Hey, Faith Unveiled Ministry, here we go. But find a ministry and that could really use the money, and that is sincere and honest, and that's not going to launder. It's sickening to know that they're taking God's money.
That's right.
And laundering it into their own benefit.
Well, listen, you're supporting those 20,000 square foot homes.
Yeah.
You're supporting the rock star lifestyle. Look, they've created a pyramid scheme, Paul.
That's exactly what
where only the upper echelon of that church or that ministry is getting the money.
Right.
The New Testament said that we sold lands and houses, and we brought everything in to one spot. And this is not socialism. That's not what we're talking about here, because it didn't say we gave it to the general public. So we gave it to our people, God's people. He handed it out to the people so that no one was in lack. Now, when was the last time? I'd love to go into one of these mega churches and say, everyone in here that's debt free, raise your hand right now. 100% debt free. How many do you think would raise their hand? Maybe 1%, if that. And look around and say, okay, why aren't you debt free? Because your pastor over here is living in a 20,000 square foot home. Got 6 jets. The entire congregation should be debt free. Why not? Why aren't you taking care of the congregation first?
Yeah.
See, that's what I like about this president. He's all about the people first.
Completely.
And that was the New Testament model when they were bringing it into Peter, and it's just hand it out to the people. It's just God's people. That's how you take care of it. But no, not these guys.
Right. All about themselves.
It's all about themselves.
It really sickens my stomach to know that this is going on with God's money.
Yeah,
it's horrible. And it makes me understand a little bit more as I begin to unravel this and begin to understand it. When God said, "I'm taking my glory away from these guys."
That's right,
because they deserve the glory to be taken away from them.
Yeah, and look, people are going to understand too, is that they're there to serve themselves. This is all a big competition. It's all about the numbers.
Right.
It's all about the money. It's all about how many people can I bring in here. You should hear some of the stuff that goes on behind closed doors. Yeah. We had like the big meeting up at the mall here in Washington here a week or two ago. What was that called?
Yeah,
I can't remember what they called. There were some big name people there, and one of our friends had boots on the ground there, and they said it was absolutely disgusting what you saw going on behind the scenes, because it was a big competition as to who had the microphone the longest.
Oh, boy.
See what I'm saying? This is what people don't understand, what goes on behind the scenes. These people are very, very good at what they do in front of the cameras and in front of people. They're very good at it. And there's something totally different behind the scenes. And what people don't want to think about is like, oh my gosh, this person is such a big name. He's such a great man of God. And then behind the scenes, they're a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Exactly what they are.
How many times I've been screaming about this, over the years. And it's like, I have witnessed it myself firsthand, period. Some of the most atrocious character and integrity come from some of these people.
And this is what God is exposing.
Yep.
And this is why the Spirit of God has told many and moved on many that he's going to send a wave of his Spirit to home churches and small churches.
That's right.
That's where the movement is taking place. And I said the other day on Facebook that it's a shame that there's a bigger spiritual revolution going outside the 4 walls of the church than inside.
It's happening on the street.
Shame on the pastors for allowing that to happen. That spiritual revolution needs to happen.
Yeah. And look, we still have to be careful, Paul, because the infiltration that we've been talking about has infiltrated our seminaries, It's infiltrated our churches, and it is now trying to infiltrate the home groups. Yep. So we have to be very mindful. We need to ask the Lord for discernment, wisdom as to who we need to be a part of. Who do we need to be? We need to be following Christ, period. You need to be careful who you follow, period. Right. Follow Christ and Christ alone. Even though you may be listening to me and Paul right now, you need to take it before the Lord and listen to him.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, look, search a matter out. Search it out yourself. You know what I mean? Don't take my word for it. Search it out yourself.
Exactly.
And so, but he's infiltrating everything he possibly can right now, and we cannot afford to give him even a small crack in the door right now, brother, because right now the devil has nothing to lose right now. Even though he's been caught, it's like that death roll I talk about when you catch a gator. He's been caught. He does a death roll. That's still some of the most dangerous part of the catching that you're doing, because he's got nothing to lose right now. The devil's been caught, but he has nothing to lose. So if you give him a crack in the door, he's going to blow it wide open, guys, with the infiltration right now. He's infiltrating everything if he can.